The United Nations is a supranational organization designed to maintain world peace and ensure the economic stability of its member states through various programs, the most successful of which are UNICEF, the Children's Fund, and the UNDP, the Development Program. The UN was founded after World War II to ensure lasting peace and to help the decolonization of Africa and Asia. Its present goals are to help develop these former colonies and help bring them out of the Third World and continue maintaining peace worldwide. Peacekeeping is where the United Nations has become inefficient. That is why I've selected this topic. The UN has traditionally been a very useful, successful body in many aspects. UNICEF is an incredible branch that does great work. Just ask these children in Mali. But I'm not here to focus on what the UN is doing right. I'm here to focus on what needs to be fixed, and that is the UN as a global peacekeeper, and it's the inefficiency of the Security Council. The major peacekeeping aspects of the United Nations are controlled by the Security Council, and any military action needs to be approved through it. Until it gets reformed and transformed into an efficient body, the UN will not live up to its potential capabilities and will struggle to maintain world peace. The U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 was a violation of international law. The U.S. could not get the approval of the Security Council to invade, so it invaded on its own. The UN did nothing to stop them. This comes in part from the fact that the U.S. pays almost 25% of the UN budget. The UN could not risk losing that funding, so it failed in its duties and allowed the U.S. invasion. This was the third major failure of the United Nations in the last 20 years. The first was during the Yugoslav breakup in 1992. The Bosnian Serbs were performing an ethnic cleansing on Muslims, so the UN set up a safe haven for Muslims in this town of Srebrenica. However, 7,000 Muslims were killed in the safe haven when the UN failed to protect them. Perhaps the worst failure was in 1994 in the tiny African nation of Rwanda. Over the course of 5 months, the ethnic Tutsi majority murdered over 800,000 ethnic Hutus. The UN knew what was happening and failed to intervene. This sparked international outrage from human rights groups, and since then, the UN has attempted to do more in humanitarian crises, but Security Council inefficiency has prevented it in many cases. As shown by these incidents, something needs to change. The UN is supposed to prevent these things from happening, yet because of the Security Council being incapable of cooperation and accomplishing what needs to be done for the greater good, these tragedies continue. Reforming the Security Council is an incredibly difficult process. There are many reasons that nothing has been done to change things yet. Each permanent member of the Security Council has to approve any change to the UN Charter, which is their founding document, and that's what it would take to begin changing the Security Council. If even one of the permanent members votes against the change, it cannot pass. That is why almost 60 years after its founding, the Security Council has the same 5 members that it did when it was formed. When the UN was formed, the 5 countries on the Security Council were the 5 powers of the world economically and militarily. 5 countries was also representative of the 68 member countries in the UN. Now there are 195 members of the United Nations, and 5 permanent members is not representative of that many countries. Additionally, now the 5 permanent members are not the most powerful countries in the world. Take all of these conditions and add them to the political climate that exists between the 5 permanent countries. The democracies take one side of arguments, and the communist countries take the other, on many major issues, and all of them have the veto to overrule the side they disagree with. This leads to nothing being accomplished by the part of the UN that is supposed to be the most effective. That is why the reform discussion has risen. Reform is possible. The leaders of the G4 countries have unified themselves and are pushing for their inclusion in the Security Council. President Obama has called for India's inclusion in the Security Council, but has stopped short of calling for the full G4 to be added. The thought behind adding the G4 to the Security Council is to add power, new opinions, and to alter the veto. Adding these countries would give the Security Council new power economically, because all four of them are stronger economically than Russia, and they are all close to economic equality with France and Britain. These countries would also bring new opinions to a group that has been represented by the same opinions for almost 70 years. The political stalemate would be able to move with these new members, and new members would have an equal opportunity to shape policy as the old members. My proposed reform would double the number of permanent members, the G4 plus 1. Who is deserving of the last available seat? The problem with adding the G4 is it still leaves Africa unrepresented within the permanent ranks. The leading candidates for that would be Nigeria and South Africa. However, neither of them are as strong economically or militarily as some of the other countries that would also like to be included as permanent members. These countries include Australia, Mexico, Pakistan, and Turkey. My plan, however, would be to give Nigeria the 10th and final seat among the permanent members. Nigeria is less influenced by Europe than South Africa, and Nigeria is strategically located to be able to help with conflict in more countries in Africa than South Africa is. The population of Nigeria is also increasing rapidly, which will add to its economic strength in the coming years. My plan continues by adding 5 new rotating members to the Council, giving it 15 rotating members to counter the 10 permanent members. These 15 members would be selected every 2 years, and they would be representative of global population. This means the countries would come from populated areas of the world that have the power to address specific needs in their regions. As I mentioned before, countries like Australia, Mexico, Pakistan, and Turkey would be shown preference, but countries like Argentina, South Africa, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia would also be shown preference since they are among the strongest in their regions as well. That is not to say that they will always be on the Security Council, but they would be there more frequently than less influential and less stable countries like Ghana, Egypt, Iran, Colombia, or Burma. By adding to the stability and influence of rotating members, the chance of ineffective political votes by countries simply looking out for themselves or their allies greatly decreases.